Hi, I am Osman, a master level telepathic energy healer specializing in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, as well as a host of other physiological, psychological, and spiritual ailments. I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher. Be sure to visit my website yogawellness786.com for more information on my services. Also understand my therapies are all natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. So what's my opinion on the relation of yogic sciences and the martial arts? So let's go a little bit into the history. I am an energy healer. I learned energy healing from the Chinese art form called Qigong. And Qigong I learned from the Shaolin Temple, the school called Shaolin Temple. And Shaolin Temple is a school that is in existence for 1,500 years. It's one of the oldest schools that are still in existence today. And I was really fortunate to be able to learn under an amazing teacher, my energy healing protocols. And in that school, they also teach Tai Chi and Kung Fu, Chinese herbal medicines and acupuncture, right? So all these things are also taught in the Chinese sciences and affiliated sciences. But I stuck to the energy healing aspect, and coming to the energy healing aspect from a school that is famous for its Kung Fu and Bruce Lee, right? Bruce Lee, the famous actor who passed away tragically in a very early stage in his life, but very famous for all his Kung Fu movies, in the 70s and 80s. And so he represents like an icon in martial arts. So I'm relating Kung Fu from the Shaolin Temple perspective and the martial arts from a Kung Fu perspective, but it doesn't mean that martial arts involves Kung Fu only, right? There is Taekwondo, there is Karate from Japan, right? There's many other martial arts forms, and now it's very popular to have mixed martial arts, right? But I'm just giving the argument from this perspective because I learned under a Chinese master from a school that teaches Kung Fu. And my teacher who taught me Qigong, he was a Kung Fu expert. He was a Kung Fu master, right? And to give you an idea, his mastery level, he was 95 years old and he sparred daily with 3 30-year-olds, very strong men, and he floored all 3 of them. And he was 95 years old. And from a libido perspective, his wife was 50 years younger than him. So, I mean, this says a lot, right, about the Kung Fu side of things. And he also practiced Tai Chi and meditation, right? So, Tai Chi, where does Tai Chi originate from, and Qigong energy, relation to Qigong energy? In about 1,500 years ago, there was a sage or a person that came from the mountain region, the Himalayan mountains, right? He came from that region and his name sounded like an Indian name, right? So we are theorizing that he's Indian, right? And he came and he noticed all the Buddhist monks were meditating, for long hours. And he says, but this is not very good that you're only meditating. You need to also move your body and practice movement so that the energy doesn't collect and get stuck in different pockets. So he taught movement, and he taught the movements for them to understand by mimicking animals that they knew, tiger, bear, and so forth, right? And he did it, that's how it came about, teaching them Tai Chi. So Tai Chi originated from this person who came and taught this variation. I believe that it's a variation of a yoga style, because yoga itself also mimics animals, and you get the cobra posture, the locust posture, the plow posture, right? It's not an animal representing the plow, right? Implements and things and so forth that people were used to, at that time. And the Scorpio posture, and so forth. And in Tai Chi, we see the relation. So there's also, in the early days, yoga with movement, right? So they practice yoga with movement. There is the Surya Namaskar, which involves movement, slow rhythmic movement and breathing in conjunction with the rhythmic movement. In Tai Chi is also breathing with the rhythmic movement, right? That is performed in the early morning hours, and Surya Namaskar as well as Hatha Yoga practice originally was recommended to be practiced in the early morning hours, right? But these days people lifestyle, they have time in the evening for a yoga class, attending yoga classes in the evening. So the relation between yoga and martial arts, now the line is becoming, more and more parallels are being drawn, right, by my comparisons, right, of what's happening. Now, what actually happens from my own personal experience, I was involved in a martial art form in my childhood, karate. I learned Qigong in my adult life, but in my childhood, I used to go for karate lessons and practice karate. And I noticed phenomenal increase in my strength above the average people, right? Where if I punch someone with a singular punch, right, the person can drop unconscious. There was one person, we were just playing around, monkeying around, you could say, in school. And during the school break, I was very well practiced at the time, and my core was extremely strong, which I believe my core is still strong because I do 5,000 crunches a day, right? And that is like very easy for me to do. And so people used to come punch me in the core, in my solar plexus, which gets you winded, right? Gets anyone winded and drops them, right? And they need time to recover if you punch them hard in the solar plexus. So I used to get anyone, to come and punch me, and I'm quite normal and I could take the punch, and my stomach muscles was quite strong, right? And in the martial arts, we strengthened them. So there was one person who was, you could say, a type of bully in the school, and I punched him in his solar plexus. He turned yellow, and he went sliding down, and he started to convulse and frothing through his mouth. And I, of course, was extremely scared. I thought I killed him, and I'm going to be charged with murder and be called to the principal's office. But within a minute or two, he came to, and the rest of the break, it was a reasonably long break. Rest of the break, he had to sit in the classroom, while we all were out playing, and for him to recover, right? And there was another occasion that I, was angry, at my younger brother, who was, being very aggressive towards my mom. And he was already around 18, he was quite big. He was, a man-sized guy, and I'm 4 years older than him. I just gave him a slap with my hand. He fell and went sliding on the floor and hit the other end. The wall stopped him, right, from sliding further. And my mother said, never put my hand on my brother again. I didn't think of it. I just thought I'm giving him a slap, right? I mean, you're just giving someone a slap. And what is that? And I also, unfortunately, in an angry mood, I punched someone, and I, not only bust them out, but broke the teeth and so forth. And they have had to, have a crown implant, and living with a crown implant, from then on. And they were in the 20s, right? And so forth. Then I put two and two together, that yoga, because I was practicing yoga throughout, tremendously increases one's strength. So normally when I challenge people to a plank, I'm not practicing plank every day. I'm not a master planker, but and I'm not practicing it every day. But just as a comparison from any average person, let's do the plank, because I'm not practicing plank, they're not practicing plank. How is yoga, strengthening me? And yes, I'm doing, my core exercises, so that's why my core is very strong. So I had once occasion when I was 50 years old, competing with a 19-year-old guy who was going regularly to the gym, thinking he's quite strong with all the supplements, and he was a wealthy person. I mean, he was not short of money for, his supplements, and challenged him. And I won the challenge, very easily. And he was totally mind blown and surprised that, how I could. I said, no, it's just that I'm more focused on my yoga practice. So yes, I'm not doing my crunches all the time. There were, long periods of time I wasn't doing it. But my yoga I practice, regularly. And to be able to very easily do 5,000 crunches, it's like the easiest of things, right? And I'm not someone who's very muscular or athletic or something, right? And I'm able to do it. I attribute that to yoga practice. So I led to thinking, because a lot of the secrets of yoga got hidden over the centuries and the thousands of years that elapsed. And one of the reasons could be that originally yoga was, it's just my theory, was designed for the martial arts, and for warfare, because it's giving you a superior intelligence power, right? Superior capacity for decision making, calm under very stressful situations, and a war situation is very stressful. You need to make, quick decisions and strategic decisions in order to outwit the enemy, right? So depending on your strategy wins the day, right? So yoga is amazing for strategy and for thinking, as well as building strength. So if you want to, and what's part of yoga, I believe the breath work, the alternative nostril breathing with the retention, because I had occasion to teach only that. I never taught anything else to my one student. He's a professional boxer, and he's been fighting. I mean, that's his full-time job. He trains daily 8 to 12 hours a day, and he's boxing for money, right, internationally. And he had occasion to come to me when he lost his girlfriend and went into a very deep depression and felt suicidal. And he doesn't believe in this energy healing, but he knew that energy healing, is said to release stress, and he was willing to try it, right? And he came to try it with me, and he was so super amazed that it removed stress. It was a 180 degrees turnaround. When he came to me and how he ended up, he was mind blown. He said, I can't believe at how amazing I'm feeling, that how it's turned around. And then I taught him the breath work. I said, just learn this, not knowing what the effect going to be on his protocol. But I said, if I've done, because I did a chakra unblocking and successfully unblocked his chakras, and he helped him in his stress. And that this is normally a protocol to teaching someone the advanced breath work. And I taught it to him, and he just practiced about 10-15 minutes a day, I think. Within 2 weeks, he came and reported to me a finding that he said normally he does 100 push-ups before he takes a break and do the next set of 100 push-ups, right? He does sets of 100, and he's like slightly out of breath. He said he felt he was like very strong and he could keep going, and he went to 200 push-ups, right? And he said normally he couldn't go above 120, right? In a single go, right? In a single set of repetitions. And he can go to 200, and he said he wasn't even out of breath, right? His muscles were starting to fail, but he wasn't even out of breath when he, took a break, to rest his muscles. 200 within 2 weeks. So what is the relation between yoga and martial arts? You tell me, right? How amazing it could be. Take care of yourself.